Hi everyone. As we discussed in our previous video also, that the real world is consist of objects, and object has uh, different properties, which is a mixing of different built-on data types. The example that we discussed in that video was the student, mobile phones, and cats. Let's suppose. So you see, like if we want to represent a student, so student can be represented in different ways, but generally if we want to represent a general concept about student, that may be name of a student, age of a student, gender of a student, address of the student, and program of study or year of the student. So these are different properties that using these properties we can represent a student. Someone can represent maybe differently, but someone can represent maybe in less than this attribute. Someone maybe want too much detail, someone will wanting less detail, but the general representation, if we use the general one, then this may be this is one of the possible representation of a student. And the example may be like a city, and it's her age, and then her gender, address, program, and year of study, like two. Okay, so how to represent this, how to decide that this information is enough or not enough. So actually the decision, the decision and decision about selecting these details, and selecting general properties to represent a real world object is called data abstraction. Okay, for example, you see, the definition is about data abstraction, that data abstraction is a general model of something, very general thing. Okay, so it is a definition that includes only the general characteristics. So meaning to say, in the real world object, the things may be represented in different ways, and different people have different opinion. Some, in some situation we will need more detail, in some situation we will need less detail. But if you want to generally represent something, that general representation and extracting the general concept is called abstract data type. Like for example, mobile can be represented by these properties also, and it can be represented by this one also. So mm, anyone is possible, but the general properties is called data abstraction. And the process of deciding the general properties and representing, combining them into a single entity like a student, this process is called data abstraction. Data abstraction is the process to collect general properties of some real world object and combine them into a one entity. This entity we call a structure, as we discussed in our previous video. So this one entity which represent a real world object, is called, uh, okay, so the data abstraction is a process of representing some real world object in general properties. So selecting the general properties, putting them in one entity, and then representing the real world object. And previously we were representing this real world object using structure concept. But in a structure concept we were using only only properties. For example, like like the properties about int, float, double, okay. But in real world objects, actually, we the real world objects in this universe not only have properties like name, address. For example, in case of student, a student have a name, address, age, gender, year of study, but the same object have functionality also. For example, the student can write, the student can walk, the student can sing. So, meaning to say, the structure is also not, cannot represent the real world object, because structure is only combining properties. Structure is not adding any functionality to this properties. So structure is also failed to complete the abstraction process. Like the real world object is basically combination of properties and functionality. So we should include in the abstraction process not only properties but functionality also. So to complete this whole process, uh, we need such a mechanism which really represent the real world object. By real represent, I mean that not only the properties but the functionality also. So to do that, we need object oriented programming. So meaning to say, you see, the basic the built-in data types are totally failed to represent a real world object. Structures tried to represent, but structure also represented the real world object partially. So structure can only combine the properties, structure couldn't add the functionality. Now, so the limitation is still there. So this is why we need object oriented programming. And object oriented programming is the process is object oriented programming has the capability to represent the real world object in a real sense. In a real sense, I mean that it object oriented programming can represent the real world object in terms of properties also, and in terms of functionality also. So object oriented programming provide the real data abstraction process. For example, if we look at this example, that if we have, let's suppose, ATM is a machine, okay. If we think about the ATM machine or the banking process, that how the real world processes and the different objects, how they interact with each other. So you will realize that there are not only properties but there are functionalities also inside. And due to these functionalities, the objects are interacting with each other and achieving some objectives. For example, the ATM, and in the banking system we have ATM machine, and there are customers also, bank also, and there will be technician also, which is related to the ATM machine. So if you look at this ATM machine has functionality also, like check balance, deposit fund, withdrawal cash, and transfer fund. And it may be sometime got problem, so the technician will have a functionality to repair the ATM machine, and maybe the maintenance thing. So you see, all these real world objects, like bank is a real world object, ATM is another object, customer is another object, technician is another object. So it shows that the objects are living objects also and non-living objects also. So these living and non-living objects are interact with each other, and in this way the life is going on, different activities are happening. So to actually represent this real world phenomena, here the object oriented programming comes in. And the objective of object oriented programming is to make these processes possible and easy as much as possible. Okay, so as a programmer, an object oriented programmer, your objective will be to to abstract the processes and represent in a programming language, and make sure that the functionality happens in the same way, and it should be as easy as possible. So object oriented programming has actually several pillars. The abstraction we discuss in detail. What is abstraction we will discuss again, and data encapsulation is another pillar, inheritance is another pillar, polymorphism is another pillar. All these are the four basic pillar of object oriented programming, and the whole class will be in the whole semester, and in this whole course we will discussing only these four pillars. So what is abstraction? Abstraction, as we discussed earlier also, abstraction is a general perspective of something. For example, if someone tell you that, okay, just give me the highlights or just the facts, okay, or maybe if you represent some phenomena or something just in a bullet points, so meaning to say a very general perspective of something is called abstraction. So for example, if we have, let's suppose, a book. So book may have price, book may have category, author, and the book name, ISBN data. Book may have many properties, but if we decide that some of this, we filter all these details and select some of these, the general one that every book has. For example, price, every book has a price, every book has a name, every book has an author, and every book has a ISBN. So this is a general description of the book. This general description of the book is called abstraction. Okay. So definition of abstraction is that to a view of a problem that extracts the essential information relevant to a particular purpose, meaning to say you will have some specific purpose. So for that to achieve that purpose, you will get general properties of something, and will put in your programming language, so that essential information about some of something to achieve some particular purpose. This process is called data abstraction. Okay, now what is class? What is object? And how to define a class? How to define an object? Accessing of class and its methods, and why we need classes. Let's define this in detail. So, what is object? What is class? How to define it? So you see, all the if we have, let's suppose, several books, so each book is an object. Okay, let's suppose this book is about chemistry, this about is let's suppose about self-help, and this is human anatomy, and the other books. So many books are there, so each book is an object. Okay, if we want to abstract the general concept of all these books, then we need a general description of of the book concept. So the general description which describe the concept of a book will be a class. For example, you see, all these books we can generally describe like this: that author, title, author, price, okay, and publication date. So we can describe like this. Now you see, each column here is an object. So you see, this, let's suppose this column represent this book, and this book is an object, and actually this book is a real world example of this general concept. So the general concept is called class, and a real world example of this general class is an object. You see, similarly, this is another object, this one is another object, and so on. So these description of the real world object is, the description is a class, and the example is an object. Okay, so why we need a class is because of that. Encapsulation is, on the other hand, once we decided to put the different properties of a real world object into a single entity, then in this single entity, actually we want some of the properties to be hidden, and which is should not be accessible to by public. Only there should be one interface which is public, and public can interact with that. So in this way, the data is hidden and encapsulated. So this process is called data encapsulation or data hiding. Okay, so there are some special, there will be some special methods, functions which will access the data and will update the data. For example, in case of ATM machine, we are just handling with the interface. Okay, we don't know what is going on in the background, so the background details are hidden. So this is called information hiding or abstraction, and this is needed for security. So we will discuss all these concepts in detail when we go to the actual implementation. Next pillar is inheritance. Inheritance is the procedure in which one class inherit the attributes and methods from the other class. So it's exactly like a biological process that kids are getting properties from parents. Okay, similarly, once we design some classes, once we write and develop some classes. Okay, for example, let's suppose a class of vehicle, a general class. It has properties, it has functionalities. Then from this general class, we define specific classes, we inherit specific classes. So this process is called inheritance. So the top level class is called parent class, from which the other classes will inherit, and the down one is called child classes, like bus class and car class and truck class. These three are the children of class vehicle. So you see, if you in generally, bus is also a vehicle, car is also a vehicle, truck is also a vehicle, but truck is has some unique properties which car don't have, car have some unique properties which truck don't have. So the uniqueness is their own, but the general properties are put in a parent class. The benefit of this will be that everyone will get easily, and no need to repeat here again and repeat here again the same thing again and again. This process is called inheritance. Inheritance may be a single inheritance, one class inherit from another. Okay, and inheritance may be multiple inheritance. It may be like a hierarchical like this, or it may be multiple inheritance like this. For example, you see, in this case, the class C is actually not only inherited from B, it inherited from A also, because A is inherit, B is inherited from A. Okay, so B has the properties of A and its own properties. So both properties will go to C. So this is also one type of inheritance, and this is also another type of inheritance. So this process is called inheritance. Another property or pillar of object-oriented programming is polymorphism. Poly means many or several, and morphism means form. So anything which can behave in multiple formats, or which can behave in different ways, in different forms, this phenomena is called polymorphism. So actually polymorphism also apply in object oriented programming. For example, you see here the vehicle class, the vehicle can behave as a bus also, the vehicle can behave as a car also, as a truck also. So the general concept, sometime if it behave like a car, and if sometime maybe it behave like a truck. So this changing of behavior uh, is possible, and we will do this practically. So this process is called polymorphism. This is another property of object oriented programming. Don't worry, all these concepts we will go in detail one by one with practical examples. So see you soon in a next class, and we will go in too much detail and practical examples. Then every concept will become clear. But this was just a general overview that what is object oriented programming and why we need it.